Senior Trump administration officials met with their Chinese counterparts in London today in an effort to strike a deal between the world's two largest economies. With markets closely watching for developments out of today's talks, the S&P 500 and NASDAQ closed slightly up, while the Dow closed just 1 point down. And for more on this, let's bring in CBS News senior business and technology correspondent Jo Ling Kent. Jo Ling, good to see you. So break this down for us. What came out of these meetings today?
Well, look, this was yet another small step in the ongoing trade talks between the United States government and the Chinese government. And essentially the president today saying we are doing pauses well with China. China's not easy, and he said he would be getting an update soon. We do know prior to the meeting taking place that Kevin Hassett, the head of the National Economic Council, said that a lot of the focus was going to be on rare earths and ending the restriction that China has placed on those exports into the U.S. Obviously, those are very important when it comes to manufacturing all kinds of tech devices and things that we need to supply to get important devices like cell phones. But we did know that on Face the Nation over the weekend, Hassett did make comments on this front. He said, we want the rare earths, the magnets that are crucial for cell phones and everything else to flow just as they did before the beginning of April. And we don't want any technical details slowing that down.
So as we mentioned earlier, the S&P 500 and NASDAQ closed slightly up today. The Dow closed just a point down. But break this down for us. How big of an impact could this have on the global economy and the markets?
Look, if a deal is struck within the 90-day window, it would be great news for big businesses, small businesses, investors all across the board, right? But this is day one of yet another chapter of talks. We expect talks between the U.S. and China to continue tomorrow in London. But right now, the market, in terms of these tariffs, is kind of on hold. A lot of that volatility already priced in, that risk a little bit lower because it's a lot of waiting and seeing, hoping that there will be a good outcome, especially as companies go into this critical holiday season, the back to school season. A lot of these companies saying they're holding, they're waiting and seeing, they're not issuing guidance, or they're withdrawing the guidance that they had provided in previous quarters.
All the while, we are about a month out from the end of the president's 90-day pause on those sweeping global tariffs on most countries. Get us up to speed on where we are with the administration's efforts to reach new trade deals, Jo Ling.
Well, the White House says that they are working on multiple fronts with the EU, with China, trying to establish new trade talks, the trade deals. The 90-day window expires July 8th or 9th, depending on the region. So that really is coming up quick. It is possible that there are additional extensions issued by the White House. It's possible we may see some deals. But right now, in terms of actual substance and details, we have seen very little on that front from both countries outside of the U.S. and then the White House itself. So we're watching and waiting to see, but one of the most important priorities, obviously, is with China, the top two economies, trying to negotiate, trying to come to figure all of this out. In the meantime, so many small businesses, just over the weekend, I heard from a couple of small business owners who were telling me they need answers ASAP in order to continue to survive past this 90-day pause. While they were grateful to get a little bit of reprieve, there's so much uncertainty and there's so much concern about whether or not they can continue doing their jobs instead of going back to perhaps other jobs that they had before starting their businesses and generating additional value for the U.S. economy. So there's a lot of stress on small business owners, and we're starting to see some of that bear out in some of the earnings. But certainly the market, the stock market right now, holding pretty steady, at least today. We'll see what happens next.
Yeah, we will. Jo Ling Kent, thank you for your insight. We really appreciate it.
Thanks.